Well, you meet some people and they were like, well, I was born in Dubai, I grew up in Australia, and then I lived in Paris for 2 years before I moved to London. And I'm like, hi, I'm Dave, I was born in Stafford, I grew up in Stafford, and now I live in Stafford. Okay, Google, define hillbilly. I've lived in ST16, ST17, and ST18, which means I have to remain impartial in any local gang wars. Anyway, I'm learning how to do special effects in videos, and for one admittedly ambitious video that I'm looking to do, I need like a 3D model of Stafford Town Square, and I haven't got one and I can't find one, so I've decided that I'm going to try making my own. Armed with only a tiny bit of knowledge on how to use 3D programs, I'm going to use a free 3D program called Blender. So this video is just a quick introduction to show how I've started with modelling the Shire Hall right in the centre of Stafford Town. And to say, if this interests you, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and then you'll be alerted every time I put a new video out and you can follow along. So like I said, I'm starting with the Shire Hall right in the middle of town, which is a Grade 2 listed building and it's got a neoclassical design. Now, I'm not even going to pretend to be smart enough to know what that means, I just read it on Wikipedia, but I think it's something to do with its architecture resembles the buildings of ancient Greece with the pillars and things. But don't quote me on that. Also, surely I'm not the only person that thinks the Shire Hall looks like the courthouse from Back to the Future. Building began on the current building in 1795 and ended in 1798, just 22 years after America's Declaration of Independence was signed, amongst all of their slavery and murdering, which means that our Shire Hall is nearly as old as the United States. Don't tell Americans how old Lichfield Cathedral is, they won't believe you. So to the modelling. To begin with, to get the scale right, I went onto Google Earth and I took a screenshot of Stafford Town Square from above. I used the built-in measuring tools in Google Earth to find out the Shire Hall is about 30 metres wide across the front. I imported the screenshot into Blender and I put it onto a flat plane on the floor. I then made a box 30 metres long and scaled the screenshot to match that box so I knew that I had it at the right size. This gives me a plan view to work from where all the buildings will eventually go. With this as my base, I stretched out the box to have the same footprint size as our Shire Hall building. As with anything that I want to learn these days, I watched a load of YouTube videos and I came across a video by a very talented guy called Ian Hubert, who starts with pictures and pushes and pulls features out to match the image. Wikipedia has a brilliant photo of the Shire Hall that says anyone's allowed to use it and change it. It only credits Staffordshire County Council as the source, it doesn't name the actual photographer, so whoever you are, it's a cracking photo and please don't sue me. I also took a few snaps when I was in town to get some close-ups and different angles for reference. I applied the picture of the Shire Hall to the front of the cuboid and started adding cuts along the most prominent features. From here, you can select the sections of the image and then extrude them. I drew around the triangle part at the top and extruded that outwards, and I pulled out the arches that the columns sit on. There are two figures on the front of the Shire Hall who I learned are Justice and Mercy. And, like the old proverb goes, you don't really know a place until you've modelled it in a real-time, open-source 3D graphics application. I didn't think the columns would look very good extruded, so I modelled these separately and then put them in place. There's not really enough detail in the image to extrude the railings and the steps, so I modelled these too. While I show you a quick time-lapse of this, we've got time for a couple of interesting facts for you about the Shire Hall. In 1812, a man named William Booth was tried there for crimes of fraud and separately for a murder and was sentenced to hang at Stafford Prison. The hanging was bungled and the first time he fell straight to the ground, breaking his ankles and passing out. So they just revived him, strung him up and hanged him again. They apparently also reburied his body when there was a change to the county boundary lines, so he's known as the man who was tried twice, hanged twice and buried twice. There's a door on the side of the Shire Hall next to what is now the Market Vaults pub. Prisoners were led out and handcuffed to the bar for their last drink after being convicted. And if you're in Stafford, try the burgers at the Market Vaults, they're amazing. Now the railings and steps and things are in place, I put the Shire Hall image into Photoshop and used a clone tool to clean them away, so they don't appear on the flat surface of the building. I also did my best to remove the shadows, as I'll relight the building in 3D. I'll admit my raw time lights aren't very accurate to the originals, as I hit a bit of a limit on my knowledge at this point, but as the buildings will just be in the background, you'll get the idea. Finally, I added some of the signage that's currently there, a few light sources, and we've got our first building in Stafford Town Centre. I'll be working on and building up this 3D model around various other projects, so in the meantime, if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you'll be alerted by YouTube every time I put a new video up so you can follow along. Thanks for watching!